Well, all right. I got something to show you here today. This is my floor tom from my Ludwig Club Date drum kit, which is a 1965 vintage kit. And for the longest time, I have struggled with the floor tom legs because on this particular model, the Club Date series, and others I think before it as well, they used to have these spring-loaded floor tom mounts. I have them over on the shelf here and I can kind of show you them real quick. So they look like this, and there's a spring that goes inside, and what you would do is you would just sort of like depress this lever that comes with it, and you depress the lever and it would allow the legs to slide in and out of the mount, and so you could adjust the height that way. Couple of problems with this. First of all, they didn't always grab, so sometimes you could just touch the drum and the whole thing would just collapse. One leg would just go because it wouldn't grab with the lever. See, here's the lever. I don't know if you could see any of this stuff, but it would go inside there, and then you'd push the lever up, and then the leg would go through. That's the first problem. It didn't hold, always. Second problem was the legs themselves were straight legs, unlike modern floor tom legs that bend out. And not only does that create a better base for the drum itself to make it more stable, but it also eliminates the idea that when you hit the drum, all of that energy goes straight through the legs, and if the leg isn't bent like these are, and like modern floor tom legs, then all of that energy goes straight into the floor, and the drum will not resonate. No matter what you tune it to, doesn't matter. All of that energy just goes boom, straight down into the floor, and it totally kills the resonant sound of the drum. So that was a problem. And the third problem was that I like my drums pretty high, and the legs that this drum came with just didn't simply go high enough. It was, I had them maxed out, and it would still be like way down low, much lower than I want to put my floor toms. So, after many years of just being frustrated, and at one point I bought the, what are those things called? They're called booty shakers, and they're like these little foam pads that go on the legs. They slip onto the leg, and then you put it down on the floor, and the idea is that it isolates the floor tom leg from the floor, thereby allowing the drum to resonate some more. Well, that's great. And those work pretty well. And they did raise the drum up about an inch or maybe an inch and a half. At that point, I was taking anything I could get. But they're kind of just annoying to carry around, and they're just kind of loose and just kind of flopping around. And once you put the drum down, it's like it's hard to move the drum without the booty shaker coming off, and and they look kind of funny too. Like if you're just looking at the kit and they got these like little feet for the legs, it looks a little weird. That's just my opinion. But so I thought, well, geez, maybe I could get one of those sort of like, what are they called? They're not rims mounts, but they're like one of those mounts that goes around the drum, and the legs will attach to the ring that goes around the circumference of the drum, and the ring attaches to the lugs, and you have to get the right ring for the right number of lugs. This drum has 6 lugs, I believe, and hard to find because most, I think, 14-inch drums have 8 lugs. Anyway, I never did buy that. I just never could decide on if I wanted to do that, and I never could find one that was like worth the price. I mean, all of the ones that I saw were at least $100, and I was just like, I don't know if it's gonna work, and it's, I've heard different things from different people about how they can be really finicky. So, fast forward. I find out about this company called Inde. Inde drums, Inde percussion, I'm not sure. Inde hardware. INDE is how you spell it. Look them up, you can Google them. And there's a guy who owns this company. I think he lives somewhere in the Pennsylvania, Philadelphia area, I'm not sure. But he makes all sorts of hardware mounts to fit vintage drums, and I mean, we're talking tom mounts, floor tom leg mounts, bass drum spurs, rack tom mounts with like the rail console, and the idea is that he makes these mounts to fit the hole spacing so that you don't have to drill any extra holes in your vintage 60s Ludwig drums. So I thought, I'll look into this. And after doing some research and watching some videos and just kind of, looking around, poking around, and actually I got the email for the guy, and I was emailing him back and forth about my situation with this drum, and can you help me, blah, blah, blah. Do you have the products that would fit this? Well, turns out he does. I forget his name now. I'm so bad. But I have his emails. Anyway, he recommended this tom mount. I don't know if you can see this. If you look at it from that angle. And he said that the holes, in fact, on this tom mount, the spacing, it goes from like 2 inches up to like 3 point something inches. I don't know what the spacing was on this drum. He just told me to get these mounts because it'll fit. And then I wanted to get some floor tom legs from him also because I wanted the drum, again, to be high enough. So I got the longest leg that he sells. I think it's a 21 inch. And these legs are aluminum. So they're very, very lightweight, which is nice for, being light, and it's easy to carry. One of the things I love about this drum kit, and I've done videos on this before, or at least one video on this before, is how portable this drum kit is and how just easy it is to, pack it up, throw it in the car, and get on, And so I wanted to keep it that way. And so with these legs, that is possible, and especially with the weight and just the idea of being able to, take this and just take it right out, and boom, there you go. Okay, so and it comes with the memory lock there, so boom, it goes right back into place. Easy enough, very, very simple. Something I haven't tried yet is putting this drum back in the case, because I'm afraid that they stand out so much that, shucks, it may not fit into the case. So we're gonna have to find out about that. So I may have to buy a new case for this drum, which is fine. I can always just, use the old case for something else. So yeah. So let me talk a little bit about the installation process. So, I took the head off. I forget which head. I think I took the bottom head off because it was easier to access from this side of the drum. And, so I took out the old mounts, and, these new floor tom leg mounts come with all the parts that you would need, with washers and the bolt and the nut and everything. I did have one problem though, and you know, the guy from Inde was right. The holes did fit the spacing, but the nut was too large to go into the hole for the holes that were already drilled in the drum. So I had to get a drill and open up just drill through a larger hole for each of these mounts. There's 2 on each mount, which, you know, for this non-handyman power tool hating guy, that was a stretch for me. So I'm very proud of myself. I didn't muck up the drum. I didn't nick it. I didn't put the drill through my hand or anything like that. No accidents. So always a good thing. So I was very proud of myself, and I was able to drill through and make the bolt fit through the newly drilled holes. So it didn't take that long. I probably got the whole thing done in maybe about an hour. And then what else? Like I said, it comes with these memory locks. These mounts also come with an adjustment so that, like, you can actually unscrew these 2 little nuts here, and you can actually move the whole mount up and down this mount here. So in other words, like this bit here that's holding the leg on can actually slide up and down, and it's meant to somehow affect the resonance of the drum. I have not experimented with that yet. I'm just celebrating the fact that I can use this drum again on a gig or a session, and not have to worry about it collapsing or being too low or just sounding like crap. So I'm very excited about this, and just wanted to pass this on to you. If you have any drums that are vintage and you want to update the hardware so that, you know, it could be like the rack tom, like I said, the bass drum mount on the rack tom, or the floor tom legs, or the bass drum spurs. Maybe the bass drum spurs just don't, you know, do their job, and the drum slides if you're playing the bass drum too hard. He sells all that stuff. It's not cheap, I'm going to tell you that. The legs and the mounts, 3 legs, 3 mounts. I'm trying to remember what I paid, but it was like in the 280 something range, I want to say, for the whole package. You know, pretty pricey again, but for something that really works, and for my peace of mind to have this drum working and not have to worry about it, like, you know, collapsing or getting stuck, or I forgot to mention it, before I went with this Inde company, I tried these Gibraltar clamps. I ended up buying these on the internet, and so they clamp onto the rim, and then you can put your legs through and just clamp them down with a drum key. Well, that worked for a while, although it was really ugly, because when you clamped it, bring it back up again. So when you clamped it onto the hoop like this, it was at an angle. So the legs were like going in like that. And it was real goofy looking and real ugly, and a pain in the neck with the drum key adjustment, having to do that every time, set up and tear down. Plus the fact that on a gig, one of these drum key screws stripped out completely. And so I had to duct tape the leg so that it would hold for the gig. I was setting up for the gig, and the whole thing just, I was really struggling with it because I couldn't get it in there, and it wasn't going in, and then I was trying to loosen it, and it just, and finally the thing just like, it just gave out. And so that was what really set me over the edge to go with the Inde company, because these things are just cheaply made and just didn't work for what I was trying to use them for. I still have two good ones. I don't know if I can use these for anything. Who knows? I mean, the idea is you can clamp it onto your hoop here. I have to loosen it up, but yeah. And then, you could put a cowbell on there, or a microphone, or I don't know, just anything that you could clamp, that you might want to clamp to a rim. So there you go. There's the update, the Inde update. Check out Inde Percussion, Inde drums. Let me look. I'm not gonna. You can look it up. INDE. All right, guys, that's it for now. Oh, by the way, I'm wearing my Expos hat because I'm leaving very early tomorrow morning to go to Quebec City, Canada, and I'll be there for 4 nights. Well, no, more than that. 4 shows, 5 nights, with the Australian Bee Gees show, a tribute to the Bee Gees. And so I'm looking forward to that. I've been packing all day and all my stuff together, so just wanted to crank this one out here and schedule a release date while I'm gone. So there we go. Thanks for tuning in. Put it in the books. Inde Percussion, Inde Hardware, whatever they're called. Maybe just Inde. Excuse me, just Inde. All right, guys, that's it for now. Like and subscribe. Smash the like button. And share it with your friends, All right, guys. BrianZach.com for drum lessons. See you in the next video.